There we go.
There we go.
Right. Touch on Mirage. Obviously, this is an knife round. We're not going to be casting this one. Let's talk about Mirage. So,
You disappointed me, not lie.
I'm not casting.
Knife round cast.
I'm not casting the shanking of people. Instead, I'll cast the shooting of people. Anyway, Mirage. Compared to Train, team play isn't quite as needed. Endpoint, we saw how good their team play was. The problem is on Mirage, I feel like CAZ's individual skill could shine. When you look at the players on the paper, who would you say the best player? Who would you say the best player in the server is? My money's on Jess.
Yeah, I was thinking Jess.
Or Max.
I was looking towards Max because he's always been this kind of shining light, should I say. I kind of looked towards him. I think it was one of the first seasons of EPS that I ever tuned into, just looking at him go absolutely crazy on rafters on Cash, and it's been a clip that's stung with me for quite a while now. So as an individual, he's always going to be up there, but Jess has always been kind of on the side, because in terms of necessarily achievements and such, he's not a guy that you look at and go, okay, here's a plaque of medals and trophies and stuff. But he's always had a role somewhere, and he's got a lot of experience that has played part in that, just not necessarily in that kind of top 3.
Actually, talk about history. He actually was on CAZ.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, what was that lineup? Brom, Smooya, Jesp, YNC
and ZNF. I mean, I should know. I went to LAN with them.
Yeah, well, hopefully you forget about that DreamHack Summer.
Oh god, here we go.
And CAZ do too. Anyway, Max holding towards Palace, spots Jacob. Let's see if the rotations come through that. It's quite an obvious fake, so it'll be impressive if they can sell this, but it's going to be the connector split. This is smart. See if they can catch these CT players off guard.
A lot of build-up coming in towards underpass. The Glocks looking to rock their way through as Max is going to punish them all.
God.
A 3k for him. Jacob is going to find one in response, but not quite living up to the 3k, to be honest, Jacob. You need to really do a whole lot more as he's stuck down at 14 HP. He's going to hit the deck and die. Roma potentially even just going to let it happen at this point.
We're looking at 2-0 right now. My goodness, the aim there from Max. I take my word back. Max, definitely number 1 in the server, especially in that round. It looked like aimbots, didn't it? The way it just ran into his crosshair. Anyway, give me the first round going in favor of Endpoint, and the bomb did not go down for CAZ, so we're probably seeing the force by SBR flashes and Tech9. No smoke in this gap. Unless Aussie bot decides to buy one, but instead he does go for that Tech9 armor. So no smokes, just flashes. This isn't really what you want in Mirage. Smokes are so valuable. Smoking of connector, smoking of short, smoking of window. Allow yourself to get into mid. Take those close range duels in connector or short. But also the shotgun on Jesp, so trying to rack up as much cash as he can. And actually with that shotgun, he's pushed ramp, so Jacob might be caught off guard by this.
In an ideal world, Jacob not going to let it happen. But Jesp, he's being also patient. Now I like this. I think this is something we referenced in the main league of UK Masters, which is players who go for the aggressive push, but don't overcommit. They don't go, okay, you know what?
It's information.
I've got aggressive, I've got the information, but I really want some frags right now, so they keep on pushing. And instead, the frags that are claimed are on their side because they screw up and they overextend. So I like this from Jesp because it gets that ramp information, but it's also not going to mean that he's going to lose his life in a stupid way, which is a positive.
Yeah, he is alone though, so if the attack was to come towards A, with that shotgun he could maul them down. Anyway.
Good connector. Jacob just going to be there to try and peek on through, but he's the only man there, and arguably he could find himself punished by Max, but all of the pressure, the big sort of fight per se, is going to be on the B side. Now we do have 2 players there, but Jacob, we highlighted him at connector, he makes it work. Now he looks to dive in towards B, and just the sheer element of him being there, distraction, makes Ezio's job a whole lot harder. If he tries to challenge him, gets one and 2, looking for a third, isn't quite able to get away with it, is going to find himself traded out by the T side. But they get the bomb down. All intents and purposes, the strategy, it works.
And what doesn't work is a shotgun in a retake. He is going through B-up, so expecting one of these players to be close. The problem is though, once he does peek towards bench, and there's other angles, it's going to be so hard for him to find the frag. The problem is though, for Jacob, he's 9 HP, so one shot from the shotgun will do it, and Lazar finds the frag. And the first frag in this 2 versus 2. It's going to be Jacob now all on him. Does he get the frag? Yes, he does. Lazar, where are you looking? He knows exactly where he is now. Peeks up, does he win the duel? Oh my goodness, what's happening? Time. Has he got the kit? No, he hasn't. That means Jacob's won it.
I don't know how, I don't know why, but CAZ are going to get away with it. They are going to get that round on the board, and again, what a way to approach it. The frags, they were certainly a plenty on both sides. A 3k in total for Jacob in that round, so individually does the job and gets the round win as well, just off the back of the time spent, because you do have to look at it and go, he didn't necessarily overface, he did play quite a lot to him pushing, and which certainly does coin well to time.
I mean, how much of a whiff do you have to do with that shotgun
I mean,
at that range on
that?
someone who's 9 HP?
There's got to be a graph for that or something, I'm sure. Why not, right? Missing those shots, very, very crucial. Really got to hit those. What you say is it is going to be that 1-1. Necks have been tied in early days, so we can't get rid of ourselves, but Endpoint, at least they are going back into this one with firepower. They've got themselves those 2 UMPs, Famous on towards Loza, CZ even play on Max and Jesp as well, which not quite favoured long range. We have seen some crazy stuff, but short range can hold the power of an AK-47. CAZ, of course, in a much stronger standpoint. They have got themselves AKs too at that. They've got those galils, so utility as well, a lot to play with for a T-side, especially when you look at how much control they've exerted on towards mid. They've really put the pressure down on towards Endpoint, and this is almost strangulation yet again. Loza, he needs to be absolutely pinpoint perfect in towards Connector, because if he falters, CAZ, they get handed a huge vector onto the site.
He needs to flush when he faces it. If he dry peeks into one of his AKs, he's going to get his head clean ripped off. Emi finds one, was instantly traded by MCK. And if CAZ can take this round and reset Endpoint, the momentum will be in their favour. We're seeing a strong first half from them. MCK finds the frag onto B, and the B site's open. But look at this! Look what's happening in T-spawn. Jesp and Max have pushed all the way behind them. The problem is that behind them isn't quite good enough when you've only got 1 kit on Loza. He needs to go huge here. I don't know if I agree with waiting just yet, but we shall see if they do win the retake. CZ on both of these players coming in, and a smoke on Max.
They say patience is virtue. Well, let's see if it really is, as Dream is going to punish the first. Now has information on both of those remaining players. Roma get a tap on through, but it's not quite able to get it done. Jesp is going to get a frag eventually, but, well, the sour note eventually really says it all, as he's 50 HP. Does have that helmet, but has to go ever so aggressive, and right into
no bullets.
No one chasing. Now he's run out of shots. Well, perhaps the big of his problems, but a very long list of them. At that, as Roma and Dream, they are going to do the job. And CAZ, albeit in a rough way, they do get themselves that second round, but it has got to be said, the amount of loss they did take has kind of put them in a bit of an awkward spot when it comes down to what they can bring into this round, but
the Mac 10s, yeah,
being on that low money as well, it kind of then plays back into their hands with those Mac 10s, as you mentioned.
There were on Galils and SMGs to start off with, but they're having to reinvest with no utility as well onto his Mac 10s. Jacob now trying to find information, trying to find where the stack is. That's his job right now. Doesn't matter if he dies, as long as he finds out where the stack is. The problem is, though, he hasn't got the information. Just on balcony, finds the frag. Will he get any more? No, he doesn't. Instant trade there.
Enemy, they're going to tackle through, but bring it to a 2v2. Roma is going to find the one tap back on towards Max, leaving Ezio all alone. Gets himself a hefty chunk of information to try and play with. Got that Mac 10 as well in his back pocket, of course, the expected weapon that he can try and pick up through Connector. And one close to fire, but the nade landing at his feet just puts him at the beginning of a deep dark kick that ends in his grave. Stream will catch up his head in a bit of a drive-by, leaving CAZ back to that forwarding spot. And thankfully for them, they don't have too many SMGs in their back pockets, which means the reinvestment we have to make here is somewhat stronger. Interesting to see if Jacob does get a drop. Yeah, can see a Galil on the floor, so not the end of the world, still a rifle. Endpoint, a similar situation for them, really, just a mixed match between Famouses and M4s.
Yeah, the problem is, though, CAZ's money, even though they have won those rounds in a row, Endpoint constantly damaging the T economy. And what that means is if CAZ lose this and the reset happens, we could be seeing them on the force buy, even a half buy, and at that point, Endpoint could match CAZ here and start taking it into the lead, into their own stride. Anyway, Jacob towards underpass, trying to find that first frag. He seems like he's the one not only lurking away from the pack, but trying to find the openings for his team, and I do like that. You've got to have that player on your T or CT side, trying to get your team the information and the early. After what happened on that pistol round, I wouldn't dare go near Mighty Mac, I'll tell you that.
Certainly when we were contesting a portion of that that he got control of. But he's going to find himself at least met with a friendly smoke, one that is just going to block off any view he did have in towards the upper portion of Connector, but bear in mind there was also one down the bottom end, so not really sure what value they do gain aside from covering off any sort of short push. But then there is no short push, so perhaps CAZ just trying to play with that seed of doubt, making him think that, well, there could be one, so I need to keep an eye there, as what CAZ are in fact doing is grouping up for one hell of an A push, and we already are seeing some information left to be gathered by Roma as he's up towards Palace, but he's not really able to hear out too much. Now, the closer that Max gets, the more is able to be fetched. Now, he's up towards Palace. Interesting to see whether he's on Shadow or the other option. Well, Jesper's going to find a potential opportunity as the push will begin. Backed up by Ozzy and Joe. Is he able to seal the deal and get it done? Ozzy with the first. Jess now trying to make it happen. Finds one, let alone two. Looking for the third.
Oh my god, can he get any more? Just think about the time he's wasted for them.
How is he still alive?
He gets a 3K. Can he get any more? Trying to get the fourth. Yes, he does. The amount of time he wasted there. The frags he found. Oh my goodness. Max, Jess, whichever one you want as your number one. Right now, they're both performing for the Endpoint side, and it's going to be 2 on the board now for CAZ. The money I mentioned before, once they did lose that round, they are reset. Trying to find the information, trying to find where the stack is. The problem is, though, CAZ is money, even though they have won those rounds in a row, Endpoint constantly damaging the T economy. And what that means is if CAZ lose this and the reset happens, we could be seeing them on the force buy, even a half buy, and at that point, Endpoint could match CAZ here and start taking it into the lead, into their own stride. Anyway, Jacob towards underpass, trying to find that first frag. He seems like he's the one not only lurking away from the pack, but trying to get your team the information and the early. And they are going to go for that save and into the next round by.
You look towards that CT side setup, right? We see Jess on the site holding close to that box.
I mean,
we knew he had to try and make a play in terms of actually get that first or second pick, but he should almost always, in every circumstance, be traded out, especially when they begin to push past that point of Shadow and Palace, especially with that player pushing out. Arguably, the first spot that Palace player is checking when they begin that push is below them to double check.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw Mighty Max there, wide face Palace then go down, I thought that was it. I thought CAZ would have the site, but Jesp steps up when it mattered. Luz as well might go on top of take a booth here and peek towards connector. Smokes off ramp. And Spot these players gets one. Can he get any more as they walk into the shooting gallery of Jesp? See, that's a nice headshot there. Onto Roma. Here's low HP though, so he doesn't really want to face two yet. Too soon. Luz gets a second. And did he tag up his teammate? I think he did there.
Yeah, I kind of say he did. Almost lines up a collateral as well, so I'm not going to complain. Nearly 2 for his troubles, but at the end of the day, it is just smashing through the waiting flood of eco rounds. As the big round pretty much going to be this one. CAZ, they're going into it with these rifles. 5 AK-47s. It's plenty enough to actually get the job done. Their utility a little bit lackluster in terms of flashes.
Yeah. Smokes as well. Only one smoke. Oh my goodness. Jesp just completely
Did he spot Dream
decimates Roma. Doesn't have the AWP. Yeah, he does have the AWP there. Trying to see if they can find. Gets the kill. Oh, that's a nice shot to Dream. Goes back into the vent. He is low HP though, so one bullet from these AKs will lead him to his death. But MCK wormed himself into the CT position. Gets 2 frags there. And Ozzy found Max. So right now, we're doing wide faces and actually falls there. Endpoint, Laza. 13 HP. Slowly peeking towards mid. Catches Jacob, but I believe he shall save off that. Just look at his HP. Still has all his nades as well.
Again, another round which, on paper, right from the get-go, looked like it was all in favour of Endpoint. But there's one key push which really kind of turned it back on its head. Getting those 2 picks in CT pretty much means that any sort of passive hold that Endpoint had on that site was latched on away. And from there, we had to see the rotate coming from jungle, which is where the chess pieces really started to fall into play from the T side, because then they caught off him. And bit by bit, it eventually left the island that Lazar was on, which was mid. And, well, what do you expect Lazar to do when he's in that situation? Bear in mind he was tagged down ever so low right at the start of the round. It's almost impossible for him to face that, surely. If
he wasn't tagged up, you've got to hope and imagine that he does rotate back towards A once he finds that frag in mid. And try and have the AWP in position to find those early kills before it gets too late in the after plant. Unfortunately for him, he gets tagged down so far. He has to stand still. Standing still meant he was last alive and trying to get those extra frags didn't quite net him anything. Endpoint on 3, CAZ on 4. Strong bar though, Imi on the AWP as well. Might see him be the one that gets aggressive here.
I'm a little concerned. Not gonna lie, CAZ looking to just barrel that one to one site, but you're barreling into players who individually have at times still be winning these duels, and you're making it happen. We see Ezo get himself one Imi with one back on towards Roma. MCK still not quite able to do enough as is, and we're talking about the D side. Yes, they've been able to pick up some rounds, but Endpoint, they outclassed them on the hold. CAZ, it felt like they were trying to charge into a side against pistols.
It's quite funny actually. You had Laza, the primary AWPer, playing the passive position at CT watching ramp. And then you had Imi on an AWP, pushing short, trying to find the frag in mid. Quite interesting, actually. Maybe Laza wanted to play more passive. Maybe have Imi as a secondary AWPer there playing that dynamic role. But luckily for him, he was there on that B-bomb site and found 2 frags. What a nice shot from Max. That's a second shot as well. Can he get any more? Tapping away. They're on the aimbots. Sprays down the 3rd player there. And nothing comes about for CAZ in mid.
Back on towards MCK, a name I've been saying ever so frequently on both sides of the coin, bear in mind, good and bad, but it's got to be said for every player at this point, as he is stuck over towards ramp. And, well, the bad in this situation is double set up. The ideal way is to just pin him down, but that first shot to be missed does enable him to do a whole lot of damage, which is the positive in the situation. But, yet again, it's still a 1v4. Does have a lot of time to work with, though, so in terms of damage he can inflict, if he can catch off Laza, which, judging by the rotation, is something that potentially could take place. That'd be ideal, but now they're just bunching up towards short.
He can save the M4 though.
Yeah, I think getting the M4
actually,
is
no, he's going to use it to try and get frags here. This is quite smart. He knows Endpoint's money is low. They have invested into the double op, so any frags he can find here will dent the CT economy. Does he spot the steps? Or the footsteps, sorry. Of the Endpoint players, no he doesn't. Gets shot in the back. Ezio does take him down. 5-4 now. 1 round in the lead for Endpoint. CAZ money is again, it's so bad. Let's see the utility they have this time. JKM is opting, he's thinking, do I go for the Tech-9 utility? Instead goes for the AK raw firepower. One flash, one smoke, and one Molotov. You expect that to be on one player, not all 5 combined.
We've been pointing out a whole load of individual factors. We've been looking down every single player and basically saying, oh, individually this could be different. This, that, all how it slots into place. And now it's a big push as a team, as a unit out on the game. So the 1v1 phase is not so smart, and it is going to be very, very punching. Look at Max diving on through on towards ladder. Does so much for the CT side. It's yet again a 3v1. How many times have we seen a 3v1, let alone a 4v1, or even 5v1?
No utility, walking into the AWP of Bloods, and he finds himself the 3rd for that round. Doesn't get aggressive, he holds and waits for the players to walk into him. I mean, you don't have flashbangs. That's exactly where Lazza will shine. Still the double AWP setup for the CT side here as they are 2 rounds in the lead. Lazza leading the charge 12 for 2. Very, very efficient with that weapon. It's expensive to buy. When you're not dying with it, he's doing his team's economy wonders, pushing mid down, trying to get aggressive. But the problem is they might finish with the economy, but it's going to be Aussie to find a wonderful 1 to my Max in mid. He does fall a window. Lazza now rotating, trying to find out where these T's are going so he can get onto the bomb site. Instead, he'll hold a very passive angle here. See if they go towards jungle. Playing it very, very safe.
A safe option can sometimes always be the best one. As CAZ look at their HP, it's just keeping on dropping. It's a graph that's constantly on the dwindling side. 7 and 8 HP respectively on Aussie and Roma. 38 HP in CK. And Jacob right on the tip of that smoke. Just able to find one back onto our stream. The Molotov is going to go down in a bit of a defensive manner. So certainly the potential for a lot of damage to be inflicted, but it looks like 1 by 1, they're just going to be knocked down like bowling pins. Now, a point I did want to touch on right at the start was what is prompting CAZ to go for these constant execute-based pushes? Because we saw them do the exact same thing on the B site. I mean, felt like they were pushing pistols.
It's not.
And the same thing on A, really.
It's not really executes when there's no utility to be used.
I mean, that's a point in itself,
It's
right?
more of a contact play. The problem is, though, the smoke that comes out early from ramp, that endpoint throw, seems like CAZ don't want to wait for it. They want to just push with the smoke. The problem is that means that Max and Lazza, they can have such good setups. They're able to see everything that happens. There's no flash. There's no smokes to, you know, cover where they're watching. No smokes for stairs, CT, jungle, whatnot. Instead, they can just hold the ankles and the T players walk right into them. Doesn't matter if you've got an AK. Lazza's AWP will win that duel. Talking about AWPs though, it's going to be Dream right now, 4 for 10, and you look at the stark difference with Lazza at 13 for 2. So far, great half for him on his CT side. Watching Dream AWP on his CT side as well, actually, it does go a lot for those B short picks, and can work. You see Cold Zero player a lot, but you have to be very good on your rotations. If you're a few seconds too late onto that A bomb site, if they do go for that, it can cause a lot of problems. Anyway, Jess here, different angle this time, but the same position. Finds a quick kill onto MCK. Dream gets the reply. 4 versus 4.
Is the reply able to do enough, though? You've got to look at this gap in the smoke that Lazza can play around. Does leave enough room for Roma to get on through, but is he still able to take down Dream, which is actually more value in it, because now rifles can go up close and personal. Ezio straight back on towards Roma, as mentioned, and Aussie and Jacob, they are in what can be considered good afterplants, but they know they have to try and get aggressive here, and they are doing it. Spray right through the corner is enough to squeeze on through. Jacob, a drive-by on towards stairs. CAZ is overwhelmed.
Yep, 7-5 right now on CAZ. We can revitalise right now, winning that 2 versus 3, 2 versus 4, I believe. The money, though, still strong on Endpoint side. I mentioned before how efficient these players are, getting lots of kills but not dying often. And you can see how it pays in dividends. The problem is when you buy 2 AWPs, though, is it really does dent your economy. 0 cash for Jesp. 4,000 on Emmy. So we could be seeing, if Endpoint take this, we could be seeing 6-7, and then from that, Endpoint might go for that save and then buy into the final round. So this could still be an 8-7 half for CAZ.
Max, he knows a player has just gone aggressive in that smoke. Would have more than likely spotted out that barrel by the looks of things, right? Just in the edge. Set himself up to wait for this push if it's going to happen, but as we well know, CAZ, they've fallen back off again. They're much more spread out, which is already a welcome change, as mentioned. But what is their game plan? As right now it looks like we're seeing that core 3 dump back over to what should be ramp. And from there, just another contact play. I do like the mix in from underpass though, and this could actually be yet again just another welcome change, because if you can take control of connector, it means that players on site are starting to look towards a couple more spots and can't just tunnel vision on towards one cell push without any care in the world. And from there, Endpoint's job to do what they've been doing so well in the past is made a whole lot harder. But CAZ, they also have to hit the shots. They actually have to make it work. And you talked about utility. Need to see some smokes and flashes, which I'm hoping they're setting up for right now, as Jesp is going to find the first pick on towards Connector. The Nuisance, well, swatted away like a fly.
It's Jess once again. There's a ninja position while the 3 boxers gets the kill. Anyway, Max finds one through the smoke. Roma falls, and now Lazar holding the angle. Gets one. Yeah, he did.
Get
Aussie
one.
with a very nice frag there, refrag. But it's 2 versus 4. Aussie, see if he can get any more wonderful shots. Max pushing. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but anyway, Imi finds one onto Aussie. We are seeing MCK in the 1 versus 2. 2 flashes, so he can flash both the angles. The CTs are out. Spots where Ezio is. Ezio's smart to not reface there, and he knows where Imi was with the orb. Just get the frag. No, he doesn't have the crosser bang on his head, but the counter step doesn't quite happen. So the bullets don't quite connect, and now the bomb is down. This is good for the money. They really need the round win and the reset.
That's what's going on with just Daisho. So is that money may be one thing, but it's not quite everything. But look at that sideline on towards Ezio. He's now 19 HP, and perhaps we are seeing almost a curveball that we didn't expect, but Ezio straight back on through. And a question I have from you straight off the back is CAZ. They've been able to squeeze out a couple of rounds here and there. They've been able to get themselves to 5. How much do they need to justify a solid T-side?
Only time I've casted CAZ before on Mirage was versus Zenex. And their only loss the whole season was versus Zenex on Mirage. And the reason being was they got 14-1 on their CT side.
Oh.
14-1. So Zenex, not in the playoffs. You could argue that Endpoint might be the better team in that regard. CAZ picked Mirage versus Zenex. It didn't end up. I think it was a 16-2 to end it.
It's a shameful statistic in itself.
Yeah, but that was, 3 or so weeks ago.
We know they've been cracking hard. That's
yeah, especially Mirage, as they have the confidence to repick it here. But does that beg the question, is 5 rounds enough? And personally, I'm not too sure. I think if this goes 9-6, then there's a chance. But with this bye here, we're probably going to be seeing 9-5. And that final round could really determine the outcome of this whole map and best of 3.
Love it. At least in this case, just going to be bearing on down the D side. They get themselves into Connector with success this time around, but Dream and Aussie actually going to combine. Almost a bit of doubt there as it comes on through, and you're just sitting there going, how are they actually landing these shots? As Aussie is going to miss one on towards Imi, but the bomb is down, and Endpoint, I don't think it's even worth them risking. Just sit on that B site, get yourself in that crossfire, and just hold tight. It has happened. You talked about 9-6 not being on the cards. Well, what a way to eat your words.
9-7. We could be seeing 9-7. I mean, I said 9-6 is what they need. And right now, if they can get 9-7 and only be 1 round behind, I mean, 7 rounds on your T-side Mirage, that's good.
Well,
Mirage,
what you need and what you want are 2 very different things as well.
Yeah, especially after losing the pistol as well. This is 6, I wouldn't say rifle rounds because this won the full eco, but this is 6 rounds on the board for CAZ losing the pistol. And that means into these gun rounds, they have been outshining and outperforming Endpoint, even though the scoreline is quite deceiving. So, 8-6 now, final round. Money on Endpoint side. Let's take a look at it. Ooh, that is pretty dreadful. So, going to be low buy coming out for Endpoint here. With the lack of firepower and weaponry and utility, we might see some aggression somewhere. Maybe a push ramp, maybe a push palace. Maybe a double push towards that B apps, try and get some information early, because the longer this run goes on for, with these AKs and orbs on the T side, I'm not too sure how much I fare Endpoint.
What it comes down to is they have a plethora of options. They just have to pick one and go with it and trust it right until the very end. There's already that clock that's going to get to that close point. It's starting to tick. It's not going to stop. At least so far in the early portions, we're not really seeing something that makes me think, okay, they're going to go for an aggro play. If anything, they're sitting back. We're seeing a lot of stairs positions being held a lot further in towards site. The only sort of aggressive spot now, I guess you can say, is Lazar just looking towards Palace as he tries to peek on through. Isn't going to get too much to play with, and not even sure, just judging by the map, if he even committed to it. Ezio going to go for towards short.
Where on earth? I guess looking. You got 2 players checking whorehouse, 1 player holding window, but no one's watching short. And what happens there? Ezio times all 3 of those players and gets the 3K. But Dream and his co-partner in crime, Roma, have found their way up short, but the bomb isn't whorehouse. And unfortunately for them, Imi finds both of them with that SMG, and we're looking at 9-6. I mentioned the 9-6. I mean, I was hoping for 8-7 in favour of Endpoint.
It should have been 8-7. That's what that round should have been. I can't believe they actually get away with that, because they weren't going aggressive at the start of the round. They only started to do a couple of things for info at the end, but I mean, you said it yourself.
Sloppy plays. But
where are they looking?
Even though Endpoint won the pistol, they did get reset straight afterwards, so it wasn't quite the 3 rounds we expect here. But leading to this round, we're going to see what strat Endpoint opt for. So potentially a B contact, maybe even a fast B, flashes over, not even flashes, just maybe straight brawl, maybe even a contact. Looking like it will be as they are starting to walk now. Deco could be used as a fake. Let's see. Do they expect to push into yes, they do. Roma finds the first. It's going to be Ezio to find one. Can he get the second one? Yes, he can. The triple burst spray down rips the head off of Roma, and now Ezio keeps pushing, trying to find some more frags for his team. It's going to be Jake on the fast rotate, catches Mighty Max on top of the van. Can he get any more? Doesn't expect Ezio there, and Edward. Can he get a 4K for himself this round? MCK does get the kill onto Lazar, but on this retake so far, it's looking like CAZ are going to take it.
Jess will have his work cut out for him. Needs to land every single shot right now. He's going to be missing one, but lands the most important one. Looks at Valor tagging him down. Just needs one more to land. And right on that second to last shot, he will get away with it. A double kill for him. And how many pistol rounds is that now for Endpoint?
That's all of them.
That is all of them.
I mean, bit of a meme. First 2 weeks of the season, they lost every single pistol apart from one. They were 7-1 in pistols. And in this best of 3 versus CAZ, they've won all of them. 4 for 4 right now. You can really tell by how these games have gone. That player Dream falling already. I mean, you have to have the best spawn to make it there before the players come up mid. So unluckily for him, Dream does fall then. This might just be a repeat of the first map.
This round at least, Lambs to the slaughter as they find themselves well and truly blindsided, and well, not a hopeful start to the second half, but the concern here is, as much as I want to sit towards the CAZ court, you know, I've got a lot of faith in their players. I spoke to Jacob and Ozzy and stuff last night. Their overall thought process is to go into this thinking, you know what, we're just going to play our own game, we're going to do what we can do, and it's very respectful, and I like that in self-just from an attitude basis, but it shows a lot from them as individuals.
I don't know if you should be playing with respect right now if you're CAZ. I mean, looking at the players in terms of experience and land performances and whatnot and accomplishments, I mean, if you have both of these teams playing with respect, playing proper Counter-Strike, I feel like Imi's calling outweighs Jacob's. I mean, you've got players like Max, Ezio, Jesp as well. If this comes down to straight up strategic Counter-Strike respect on both ends, I feel like Endpoint are going to be the lead, and it's showing right now. But I mean, you take a look at the individual skill, the headshot of the headshots from MCK, the aggression from Ozzy, Dreams AWP we saw yesterday when he was playing versus CEX with no respect. It was completely different, but Jesp with a crispy one tap onto MCK does fall because Dream trades him. Can Dream get any more of those? The first one towards the A side, but Jacob gets flanked from behind. Max takes him down. Sorry, Imi takes him down. And Max does kill Dream, and now suddenly at 12-6, we're looking at 3 versus 2.
Gonna be a tough one for CAZ to try and work their way through. They will get that free pass in towards Connector. And AWP potentially on the cards.
Love that.
Max who picks it up, and he will go for it. Picks it up, gets a frag. Nice way to reward him for it, as we are going to see the cross coming from Roma, but he's got the elevated angle, but how much does that really help him at this point? If anything, he just needs to go up close and personal, but he realizes that even that, perhaps even too big of an ask, he's going to fall back, and Endpoint, they just keep it going. And one thing that, you know, has to be said when you're looking at these guys, looking at the way they're just overall sitting, Endpoint, it feels like they're playing very, very loose. They're playing around their players, and most importantly, they're playing around the ones that are actually doing the work, which a lot of teams, they do struggle with. We talked about Jesp right at the start. We talked about Max. The two players that are by far the real big staple head figures. The entire team moves around them. It means that every single player is able to do their job, and that's evident by the scoreboard, because now we're seeing every single player succeed in their own consecutive role. When
we first watched Endpoint, I kept saying the roles are out of place, but right now, the aggression from some of these players and the instant trades as well. You saw what happens when they find out there's a double push Palace, they instantly push ramp, and they get the frags there onto Dream and Co. Whereas, you know, you see some other teams that might hesitate there and not push ramp and try and get the refrag onto your teammate. Jacob now with the one way, trying to spot anything towards the top of the boxes. God, if he'd look now, he'd get so much information, spotting 3 players in mid and see them running back towards T-spawn. That would give away potentially an execute to one of the sites. But instead, he's on the passive angle. And talking about passive, being passive, Ozzy finds Imi. This is the 4 versus 4. As we are now starting to see the round off ult.
They have a game plan that involves pushing on towards the site. They need to check their corners, though, as MCK more than happy to take a free pass yet again on towards Ezio. He's looking for just one more, and most importantly, going to drop the bomb on towards Max. On a comfortable way to approach. Jess is looking to throw a spanner in the works yet again, though, for himself, as he finds that pick him also to go down, trying to force MCK out of position, and it works. How are they bringing this one back? Look at how low Jacob is. He has to go for the push, bear in mind. But even then, he's still going to fall. It's all... But a double peak turned into a single. Good. A 4K for him in that round. A round that should have been unpassable. Yet again turned back on its head by individual plays from Endpoint. And it feels like I'm singing a berating record. The scoreline, yes, it's 14-6, but how many times realistically have we sat here and praised Endpoint and found ourselves in awkward points for CAZ? Because they have had some positive signs, but everything seems to be getting outread by players like Jesp.
Basic Counter-Strike. I mean, on that retake there, in the 2 versus 4, the players go 1 by 1 and Dream trying to get aggressive towards mid. I do like that, actually. No AWP for him, so he wants to make it a 4 versus 4 and have the information. He's done just that. So we are seeing a slightly bewildered T-siders. They weren't expecting that push there. Molly towards window, and this means that Ezio can start to try and find an opening towards connector or short. Jacob once again in connector though. No smoke this time, but he knows where this player is.
He's going to be trying to look for something, but a whole lot towards underpass, and eventually the dry peak. Well, Ozzy, I hope you like your grave. Hope it's nice and comfortable, because that's where you're going to find yourself. And the rest of the team may be joining you very soon if they go for something along a similar sort of line. This connector is going to be something that's well and truly taking control of at this point from Endpoint. Just dragging it out of CAZ's hands. As there Max begins his push, checks the corner, MCK tries something a little bit different, still gets punished. This one is going to go down on towards the train. Jesper just another one of his own. Ezio should be traded out here by Roma, bringing it to a 1v3, but the timing actually going to be somewhat scathing at this point as Roma is going to push on through, but doesn't even seem to realize as Laza is going to pin him down with the AWP. 15-6. And look at that economy.
What was the score on the train game? I think it was 16-6 as well. Or 16-8, something like that. I mean, CAZ, yeah. A repeat showing here. It feels like, I don't want to say nothing's gone in their way, because sometimes it has. The problem is, the fundamentals right now being played out far better by Endpoint and Dream. Again, trying to get aggressive towards mid. Doesn't quite get the frag this time, and Imi and Ezio find frags. We're looking at a 2 versus 5 right now. A 1 versus 5. Roma's is standing still. It's over.
Yeah, I think at this point we're already seeing CAZ dart from the server. Roma, well, soon to be the last man remaining in the server for CAZ, let alone trying to make it clutch. He's spinning his mouse around. There you have it, 16-6. Endpoint, they make it work back to back, and it's got to be said there are some very, very clear things that sting out why. You talked a lot about individual plays and things falling apart. There is a very easy example to use. What was it, a 4v2 and just
2
still
versus 4.
A 2v4. The order aside, Jess still able to make it work off the back of the way he plays that. Now that shows that even with clear-cut advantage, whereas you say things are actually working out for them in arguably every conceivable way that they can, they had the positional advantage they had themselves set up.
Yeah.
The basics are where they crumbled, back to back.
Just team play.
Well.
I mean,
it happened on train.
2 versus 4 retake, not even a retake, in a 2 versus 4 alone. I mean, don't peek 1 by 1, especially when you're the one running into the crosshair of the T play. It's so easy for Jespers to wiggle in and out, spot the player, and then re-peek, knowing where the player is, and spray him down while the other player has to, you know, is still moving forward.
You use